will entertain you in my absence. Cobra! Show!
Welcome back to Retro Wednesday at the Titanium Hangar. This is Mike, and today we're looking at the second year of G.I. Joe Real American Hero from 1982 to 1994. This is 1983, and it was a pretty good year overall. We're going to look at every action figure, every vehicle, the playset, the entire toy line in 1983. A very strong showing. We're going to be reviewing every single thing made in the vintage G.I. Joe toy line. The greatest action figure toy line ever made and ever to be made going forward. But let's take a look at this 1983 lineup coming up. All right, the first figure on the list that we are going to take a look at is Airborne. And if you're following the series, then you're going to know that I utilize the YoJoe website. So just go to yojoe.com and you can find all these figures, more pictures, and pictures of each accessory. And I go in order more or less from them. That's how I put my shelf in order. And if there's a question about the year something was released, I'm just going to default to what they say. Now, getting into this one here, this is Airborne. He is the first figure. He does have his own, appears to be his own special helmet that I haven't really seen on anyone else. It is a slightly different green than I see on many of these other figures. He also has a nice blue to his shirt, which this figure is prone for discoloring. Oddly enough, the discoloring I see isn't really in the shirt, in the blue. That must be painted, because the discoloring I usually see is in the legs, which is weird. But anyway, it does look pretty cool. It does have a backpack that is similar to Duke's, but yet it is different. And I have noticed, and it's been pointed out by other people, that it's got some sort of like cross pattern to the back where Duke's does not, and it's a slightly different color. But still, it's kind of cool. He's sort of an airborne ranger. Is that what it is? He's going to be jumping out of some airplanes with his airborne backpack on. Plus, he comes with this gun right here, and pretty cool looking gun, pretty cool looking figure overall. That's Airborne, and I never really thought that he was that great of a figure. Just more or less a figure to check off of a checklist. But some people really, really like this character, so that's kind of cool. Next up we have Doc, the medic of the team. And this figure is so classic, one that I really like a lot. Doesn't come with a whole lot of accessories, but he doesn't really need to because he is really that cool. Do like his color scheme is kind of plain and bland, but there's some breakup in it with the white undershirt that he's got on and his belt and his gun that he has right here. So he's still going to take care of business. His helmet is also a little bit different than some of the other ones. It looks a lot like kind of mutt for Mutt and Junkyard, but of course it's the tan. He's got that green glasses painted on, and he has, I believe it's a mortar. I guess I could look up what it's called, like a mortar launcher kind of deal. But pretty cool weapon. Not something that's really easy for him to hold. That's why I'm holding it like this. The figure is so cool, but then he came with his own stretcher, which is very awesome. It's just so interesting. I remember seeing this. I believe the stretcher would be, you'd put the figure on the opposite side, but I always carried it like this. It's kind of long and short of how I imagined this working when I was a kid, and still the same today. Some Joes carrying. Well, anyway, this is Doc with his stretcher. Next up we have Gung Ho version 1. I feel like I have to say that because there's several Gung Ho versions out there, especially in the 90s, and when they get into repainting the same exact reversion figure. Cool. One of the figures that probably was played with the most when I was a kid, but he wasn't even mine, he was my brother's. That's crazy. But such a cool figure. You're going to find a lot of these that are worn out and just played with like crazy. Marine. I'm not sure if people would want to troop build this as a Marine because he does kind of have some Marine look to him, but he's still just a character, a single individual. He's got that backpack with him. He's got that camo on the light blue, which it's so crazy, and so many people with the Village People YMCA jokes going on with this character. With that, he's cool too. He's got this tattoo on his chest, which we never get made again for whatever reason, properly or adequately. And then there's he's got like a grenade launcher as his gun. Mine is floppy, been played with. And now I've got one even worse condition than this. but still really cool figure. One of the top figures out there, top characters. And I gotta say, I'm not gonna do this with every figure, but when it comes to a couple of figures I really like, I'm gonna do this. I do want to showcase what an amazing job that Super 7 has done with their Ultimates line in recreating these figures, and they just look so amazing. Just some interesting modern touches, modern flares. They are 7-inch versus the 3.75, but so much fun to see classics being recreated in modern era. Next up, we have Snowjob, another figure that I absolutely loved from back in the day, and of course this one is played with like crazy, but one good thing about this particular figure in general is that it is still pretty white. It's yellowed a bit, but these bright white lights have made it look whiter than it really is. I was always fascinated about this figure because of a couple of things. First of all, I did like skiing. I went skiing with my aunt every spring break, and so that was a whole lot of fun. And the fact that you could pack on the backpack, you could pack the skis on the backpack. Not a very expensive figure. You can still get one probably complete for around $20. Just depending on, of course, tightness of limbs and how white of it is it yellowed or anything like that. But I got this one for like $20 in almost perfect condition except for some loose limbs. I want to say he comes with this cool looking blaster, which looks very similar to the ones that they used on the show. He comes with these two ski poles that clip into his backpack, and then skis. He only comes with one set of skis, but I went ahead and I ended up with an extra set. I actually whitened them with some peroxide to get them a little bit whiter. I didn't whiten the figure though. They were much yellower than the figure at first, so it was worthwhile to make a match. But you can get a set of skis, the whole set of accessories for real cheap too. It's impressive because of the fact that this figure is so old, but yet you can still get a good one for a good price and so much fun. Very classic figure, very awesome. Absolutely love Snowjob. All right, we're getting into some of the wetsuit character here. This is Torpedo. Now, I actually prefer the wetsuit figure more, which is kind of weird, but I guess I like 90s figures too, so it would make sense. I would like the crazier colors. He does look a little bit bland, but he still gets the job done. He's really cool, and he's featured heavily in the show. He comes with everything that he needs. A cool looking figure. This is one that I would also say could be a generic sort of a troop builder. It could be one that could just be in the background. You could have several torpedoes and they would just make sense. Also, this is one that it would make sense that if you just for fun, for whatever reason, want to swap heads out and say you can have pretty much any character Duke, and I would even go, because of the form factor, it does look like really thin, but you can even put like Lady J's head on there or something. You can make this as if you've got a group of people out there that are going on a special mission team. And maybe you've got to buy a junker lot for real cheap and you get a bunch of these bodies. That'd be something cool to do also. But anyway, he comes with his spear gun, which I believe that's a spear gun. I mean, you see the spear head at the end of it. Comes with the black one. It is recolored in the accessory pack. He does have his backpack on here, and he comes with the gray fin flippers. And I will admit that for a while I had mine displayed with black ones on them, and it was wrong. And I just was like, wow, I can't believe you got gray ones. I remembered them wearing black ones. I guess your memory can get cloudy over 40 years. Anyhow, this Torpedo, cool figure. Next up, we have Tripwire. So this is one that I would think would fit in perfect with 1982, the previous year. All of the bland characters, but I always thought he looked a little more interesting than the 1982 squad of those figures, because he does have this gray on the front. His gloves look kind of cool, and his boots there, but really the metal detector, I guess we as a family when I was a kid went through a metal detector phase thinking we were going to find something amazing with it, but we never did. I don't plug this in. It plugs into right here because it doesn't display on the shelf very well with that metal detector going all over the place. It does come with mines. I guess it's 3 of these mines. You know, I haven't pulled them out in years. Have not pulled them out in years. So that's what they do. That's what they look like. Then they plug back in, and I hope they stay in. Wow, that feels like it's brittle and crunching against itself. Not good at all. Anyway, there's the Trip Mine figure. Not a whole lot that you can do with him other than look pretty cool on a shelf and fits in very well with the first year of characters. Next up we have Ace, the pilot of the Sky Striker, and I'm still trying to figure out the most efficient way to do this, the most efficient way to show the figure and then the vehicle. Obviously, it would make sense. G.I. Joe is a very vehicle-heavy line, and of course, showing the vehicles. But do we talk about this figure, then we come back to a vehicle section, and we'll just go through and show the vehicle now. So this is Ace. He's in what looks to be like an astronaut uniform, and that always was confusing to everybody. And as a kid, I really didn't know exactly how pilots dress, but I did watch Top Gun, and I thought, well, then none of them dress like Ace. And with that, still a cool figure. It's really kind of hard to get his helmet, and I actually taped it on, so if it falls off, I'm not missing it. I'm not going to lose it. And I've got 3 figures in one helmet, and the only reason I even have this is Philip, my buddy Philip's Sky Striker, and his figure, and he has it pretty much complete and in decent condition, better than if I would have saved mine. But let's get this out of the way, take a look at this Sky Striker. So here it is for the cockpit in the front, and then zoom pan over, and this is the vintage one, not the HasLab, and I do have a HasLab, but this one, it is great. It is classic. I love it. The HasLab one is improved in several ways, but the wings are out, and then when you press it in, the wings go in, and it doesn't make sense. When the wings go in, the wheels go in, and I would think, maybe I just don't know aeronautics very well, but I would think this is the flight, and you would have the wheels up, and then I just figured the mechanism would be opposite of that. Then there's what the wheels look like. I do have a couple of the missiles that keep falling off of it. It does come with some big ones and some small ones. Oddly enough, this giant one, I've had 4 Sky Strikers. I think they glue it in, but this one, for whatever reason, comes out. So maybe my buddy Philip, as a kid, worked on getting it out. That's interesting. But let's get this back in frame. Here are more of the missiles. I'm not sure why my missiles fall off so much, but it's probably the wear and tear from the use. This probably got played with so much that it wore off. So the dog bone connectors just aren't doing their job anymore. But this is the Sky Striker with Ace. If you want to showcase a couple more features, they did have these ejecting seats, and there's also the variation of the 2-seat piece that clips in, and also you're supposed to have parachutes that go in the back. I don't have the parachutes, and that's what I'm finding out about collecting G.I. Joe. Parachutes for this, parachutes for the Sky Patrol. Hard to get in good shape. In the rear you have engines. I think that you're not supposed to be able to remove them, but one of mine kind of slides in and out, which is not a great thing. But one more cool feature that you have in this is this hook. This comes with the flag, and it integrates with this, which I'm not going to push it in too hard to break anything. And then you'll be able to catch on this on your flag. Could actually show it on the flag, but it's easier just right here. Pretty cool feature that they included. This stuff comes with the flag, not the Sky Striker. Next up we have Cover Girl, and let me check. Is this the Wolverine? Yeah, it's Ramen Toys making a larger tank that resembles this kind of setup if you buy the add-on kit, but a really just a kind of a simple basic type of vehicle. Something probably a lower price point from back in the day. But looking at the figure, she does look pretty cool. She was a model. Cover Girl was a model, and that is when she joined G.I. Joe. The figure itself looks pretty cool. I will admit that I've got 2 Cover Girls. I think they're both relatively good condition. She's got a little wear on her hair, but for the most part, I take that as she wasn't played with very much. She's more of just there and not played with very much. I see Scarlet's and Lady J's worn out. I very seldom see Cover Girls worn out like they're played with a lot. But hey, that's just my perception of the ordeal. She does look pretty cool. She's wearing a jacket, and she's got some green accents on her. I think she looks great. I think they got the colors, a cool looking figure, an interesting figure. One that I didn't have back in the day when I was a kid. Probably because she was packed in with this. Now, this is the Wolverine, which is a pretty cool vehicle. It's got some nice detailing on it, and this panel does come up so you can see the engine work on there. So there's some engine stuff going on. I doubt she works on it herself, but she might. She might actually. might be like, hey, I know how to work this. And then these are not real working tank treads. She does have a tow hitch so she can tow stuff, and which when it comes time, we could talk about the dual cannon. And of course, her cannons, she's got a missile launcher, and that's the big point here. Comes with 12 missiles. I'm missing one, so that's not a big deal to me. Pretty cool vehicle, and very, very cool for a lower price point for back in the day. Next up, we have a silver Grand Slam. I will admit that Grand Slam silver repaint is challenging to get. He's a little bit on the expensive side. And he did come with the jump. Now, I'm not going to double dip and go back and look at the jump again. We looked at it last year. It was released last year without a figure. So this year, he was released with the jump. And a lot of people just feel like the figure just needs his helmet to be complete. But I like the fact that the accessories with the jump go on him. Call that a complete figure. I think it looks really cool. And it's really interesting. Of the figures of the original 10 that I didn't really care for, I like this repaint. I like this look. Just something about it. Maybe just because it's different. But I did like Grand Slam. And I liked the Flash figures a little more out of them because they had a little bit more going on. And there it is. Grand Slam. Silver. Here's Grunt version 2. And he did come with the Falcon Glider. The Falcon Glider itself was made out of really thin styrofoam, and that made it very fragile. It would break real easy. It's one of those things that you do not want to break it, but you're going to be throwing a thin piece of styrofoam through the air, and it's going to crash over and over and over. It's not going to hold up. So very few of them are less. They're very expensive. If you find an original, they did do a reproduction along the line. But anyway, getting into Grunt here. Now, I did add accessory pack stuff to him. The version 2 in the tan does not come with anything but a helmet. And I added the accessory pack stuff because it matches. It's just like almost as if we know kids are going to want to do this. Well, if kids don't do it, collectors will. And I think that's really awesome. It's kind of cool. It's kind of fun for a repaint. There we go. This is the Grunt and his Falcon Glider. All right, next up we have Wild Bill and his Dragonfly. One of my favorite vehicles as a kid. I wore my Dragonfly out. I've already done a full video about the Dragonfly. We'll do a quick overview of it here in a bit. But the figure looks pretty cool. He has a hat that's not removable. He is green. He has another one that would possibly fit in with the first crowd, but he's got a cool vest on him. He's got some guns molded in the side. He's not made with the shared parts that the original figures had. They had a lot of shared parts. And so he's all new mold for that. Pretty cool. Maybe his parts get reused down the road or something. But his blue hat, some silver glasses. I mean, it's just a lot of sun up there when you're flying that helicopter. Really, really cool figure. A whole lot of fun. He is simple and basic. Doesn't really come with any accessories, which is outstanding for trying to track one down. Now, this thing just looks awesome when it is geared up. Fully geared up. So there's like a bomb, missiles, and I've got a machine gun, got hoses connecting it. You got the front-mounted machine gun. You got the canopy on here, which kind of likes to go up a little bit on mine. And then the feature that everyone loves. That is so much fun. These get worn out because kids played with it so much. It was awesome. Rear engines. Anyway, a lot of things that break on this very easily. I love this vehicle. And with that, I already have a video that shows this in full effect. This is the Dragonfly and Wild Bill. Next up, we're going to look at Duke and transition into Major Blood. Duke was a Melloway that year, so that's why he's low on this list here, not at the top of the list, because he's a Melloway. Pretty cool figure. Mine's probably not in the greatest shape. I have one that's even worse shape than this. Comes with this green machine gun and Uzi. He's got some black binoculars, a different color of a tan helmet than... he also comes with a helmet with holes and no holes. So I'm not going down that rabbit hole. I don't really care. Just whatever I end up getting that works is fine with me. His backpack that looks like Airborne's, but does not have that cross pattern in it. So that's kind of interesting. And didn't come with this stand, but the tan one seemed to work for him very well. I liked him. He was a Melloway. The other Melloway was Major Blood. Major Blood is a cool looking figure, very kind of static. He doesn't have quite all of the articulation. Definitely doesn't have the elbow joint in his arm there. He does come with this gun here. It's a black version of his gun, and it looks like it's maybe like a missile launching gun. I'm not exactly sure what it's supposed to happen there. I was always intrigued by his black non-moving arm. I always thought it was mechanical, is why you couldn't move it, and he didn't have full articulation. Also has this black backpack with has more missiles put into his gun, I'm guessing. And then over here is a gray variant of his gun that they used later. They reused a lot of these guns, but I just had it, so I stuck it in his other hand. I figured it'd be kind of fun. Why not? It's just an extra. But this is Duke, Major Blood, 2 Melloways. I gotta admit though, Duke was not. I did not get mine as a Melloway. I got mine from my brother's room, so that made it easy to get. And with Major Blood there, he was a Melloway. Made him feel very special, like a real special figure. I have to admit that I feel spoiled from back in the day. The vac metal, the amount of vac metal used in toys was amazing. And to get it on Destro's head, awesome. I love Destro, and this is another one. I had to track him down for a while because I didn't get into collecting until '84, and my brother didn't have them. So finding them at a garage sale was the only way to get them for me. And I just thought it was so awesome to finally get my hands on one, and I was just couldn't believe it actually was vac metalized. I couldn't believe how shiny it was, how amazing it was. His backpack is a little less than amazing. You open it up and it looks like you've got parts like to put together his gun, and then he has his gun. So later on we do get actual sniper rifles that fit into backpacks that get put together in the 90s. So they do some stuff in the 90s that's pretty amazing like that. But this Destro looks really cool, so classic. This version of Destro, probably, definitely the best Destro made in the vintage line. They did several, but you just can't beat the original. Very awesome. He's got his like missile rocket launchers on his wrists, or whatever we got going on with his wrists. Such a cool color scheme. And stand-up Destro. That's Destro. Next up we have the His Tank Driver and the His Tank. The His Tank Driver is another cool figure. He doesn't really come with any accessory, and I think my Cobra symbol is worn off. Yes, my Cobra symbol is worn off. So a little less impressive than it should be. And I guess you would say that's why you get them cheap, if the Cobra symbols weren't off. He does have these giant boots, like he's in Pretty Woman or something like that, and wears these silver goggles and face mask going on there. And very simple and plain, but very, very classic and very as you would expect. Now, the His Tanks, they're actually quite common. They sold quite a few of them, so they're not very expensive. Easy to get, easy to troop build. I just happen to have 2 that I came across for real cheap, and it has these double cannons that go up and down. Mine are kind of floppy. I think it might hold up better on that one. And then the whole thing moves side to side turret, which makes a lot of sense. And you do have an opening canopy for a cockpit in here for that. And let's do kind of a quick little 360 of this. And I've seen people with like 30 of these because they're not really all that expensive. It does come with the tow hook right here, but cool, simple vehicle. One of the ones that has the wheels on the bottom and no working tank treads. And I'm just going to praise them for that. Thank goodness. How many of these would still have tank treads on them if they try to do tank treads? Probably not that many. It'd probably be a pain. Probably be a $100 vehicle with actual decent tank treads if you look at LJN's Thunder Tank. Anyway, this is the His Tank and the His Tank Driver. Such a cool little vehicle. All right, let's look at the rest of these vehicles here and then the playset. This is the twin battle gun. I'm going to be using Hawk in here, even though it didn't come with this year, so I can keep all of this year's figures in order on the shelf. And he looks pretty cool manning this gun. Just another piece of world building. You've got this giant shield here to shield him, and probably fits better without the backpack. Now that I'm rethinking my decision on grabbing Hawk, maybe I should have stuck someone else in there without a backpack on, and he would have fit a whole lot better. But yeah, your figure's fitting in there. The thing that's cool about this is that it pretty much hooks to any tow hook, so you can tow this, and it's kind of one of those realistic things. This is the twin battle gun, and yeah, it's okay. Next is the APC, the Amphibious Personnel Carrier, aka a figure carrying case. It is a vehicle carrying case, which is kind of cool. Let's see what side represents the best. This is, again, my buddy Phillips, and he marked on it with a lot of marker back in the day, so I haven't really scrubbed all the marker off of it just yet. This has a rotating cannon on here. This top comes off to reveal, and I think I have something else in here. I think I have one of these. I thought this went to this, and then I realized later it actually goes to the carrying case, which I have Star Wars figures in, because I can't seem to get this one in there. But this holds the figures in. You set them all down in here in a seated position, and you can fit 2, 4, 6, 8, 16 plus 2 in the front, so 18 plus you can stand up all of those other ones, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 more can stand up, so we fit in like 30 figures in this thing. There's the steering wheel. That's what the steering wheel looks like, and then these retainers. So pretty cool vehicle. In my mind, they're not very expensive, but I looked on eBay and people ask like 70 or 80 bucks for this thing, which shocks me because when I first got it from him in 2020, I was able to get one for like 30, and I thought, well, yeah, it's cool. It's cool. I saved 30 bucks by getting his. But here's the handle, and you can just go run off to your friend's house with your 30 Joes and have some fun with your APC. Next up is the Polar Battle Bear, which is a snow speeder, and it is very cool to have a snow speeder in the toy line. It is kind of fragile in construction, and there's a lot of break points to it. I mean, I haven't seen the tow hitch broken on those, so that's a good thing. But you almost always see this part here broken, and then you see this top piece, the connector tab broken, and this piece missing, this piece missing. So there's a lot of stuff to this. Like when I saw one and I got my first one, I thought, oh, that's Philip had a couple in his collection, but I wanted to complete them, and getting parts and piecing them together, I ended up with like a little army of them, but they're not as easy to repair as I thought they would be, but they're still kind of cool. Oh, they're very cool. Let's show you how cool. So I was considering, since I've kind of put together, restored 3 of these, I was thinking about getting the rest of the parts for the last 2. Maybe doing a restoration video on them, but is kind of a cool vehicle with the back-to-back shooting mechanism. We got the interesting hand grip there, and then the roll bar in the back, which really won't save your life or anything, but still cool, fun vehicle, the Polar Battle Bear. Polar Bear for short. They made 3 of these little pack rat things, and I just keep this one around. I know I have more. I know I've got several more of these. I know I'm missing the antenna off this. I just can't find them because I didn't display them, so I put them somewhere clever. I was really smart where I put them, but we have the flamethrower pack rat, we have the missile launching pack rat, and then this one here is the machine gun pack rat. And with that, they're cool little devices, not something that I cared much for, but since I had one, I'll show it, and it's something they made in the vintage line. They made both the G.I. Joe Falcon glider and they made the Viper glider. The Viper glider came with a Cobra Trooper or an officer. I think the officer. I think it came with the officer. Anyway, one of those figures, and so it's just another way to get a Cobra figure back out. Also, they did put out all of the straight arms as swivel arms, as you can see with the Cobra Trooper. Anyway, these are cool, but none survived. We really need a modern retro version of these. Here we go, the Fang, another one of my favorite vehicles, because this is, and I've said it in past videos, but this is ingenious of Hasbro from back in the day to make a low price point vehicle that's featured heavily in the show, and there's a lot of them featured heavily in the show, and they're cool overall, cheap, cool, you'd want it because it's in the show, and they made a ton of these, and kids could get into it. You didn't have to spend 20 bucks on a helicopter. You get a $5 helicopter, and you're in the game. You are in it, winning it, playing it, having fun with it. Fan-freaking-tastic that they made this. The retro one that they made in like 2020 or something like that was not the same. It looks similar, but it's not the same. This thing has a lot of fail points. Breakage here, breakage on where you have, well, every aspect of the landing skids break. He does come with 4 missiles that are tough to get on and easy to knock off. A giant bomb that falls off, and then this roll bar almost always missing. Mine's not even in good shape, but it's there, so I'm happy with it. I did go down a bit of a rabbit hole, and I tried to piece together 3 as cheap as I could. Obviously, I wasn't spending a ton of money. They're not really that expensive, but to get them in good shape, it starts getting pricey. So piece them together. I've touched on a little bit on army building, but I'm touch on a lot more here in a bit. I think 3 is the optimal number of troop building, army building. Next up, we have the snake armor, and I want to say that these are really cool. I was infatuated with them when I was a kid. I thought they were awesome, and I didn't truly understand every aspect of it, but I will say that these have 4 accessories. So you have 2 of these connector pieces, and you have 4 of those armor accessories. I don't see a place. Maybe you can store them on the back there. Oddly, it stores right here. If I'm remembering correctly, though, you only get 2 of these connectors, but you get 4 of the pieces. Anyway, let's get into looking at what these do. This has a hand, like a mechanical hand on it. It has like a laser piece. Then you have a missile launching, a missile piece. And then you have this here, which like a flamethrower kind of thing. Kind of interesting. And then these also do come apart. It's been a while since I've taken them apart. I'm kind of scared to. And then inside you have you have some stickers and decals and stuff. You got the rubber that connects to the legs that come apart. You can put a figure in here. You can use the rubber with it. It comes with a rubber for your pleasure and all of that. Let's get him put back together. That's a snake armor. A lot of fun to troop build and all of that kind of stuff. Snake. Here's what they look like from the back. And again, another thing, I just love the snake armor. I think they're cool. Love to have modern iterations of these also. The classic ones are still so much fun. Lastly, we're going to take a look at the G.I. Joe headquarters. We are going to go shaky cam on this, but I did already make a video about this, so let's show some updates. I made a platform to raise the headquarters. Like we raised the flag. Like up here is the raised flag. And we use the same concept of raising. Yeah, a lot of stuff's pulled out of there for this video. But I made a video on this already, so no need to go into it in depth. But we can see there's 2 bays, 1 repair bay. Most people use it for the Vamp. The AWG Striker is my favorite, so I like that one. There's, of course, the Mobat over there. And I believe you could fit other tanks in there, too. And there's a gel cell, and we've got... Well, basically, I have the Lame 10 manning this thing, but whole lot of fun. Great play set overall. I appreciate it way more as an adult collector. Watch my review video if you want more of my thoughts on this thing. All right, I hope you enjoyed this look at the 1983 lineup of G.I. Joe. Very solid year. So many iconic characters that were in the TV show and still are loved by collectors today. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Today I'm hanging around.
Vertical Mach! This space shuttle will be mine! 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 Wrong again, Chrome Cheeks! We've been expecting you!